Okay, in this video what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about how you can use PowerPoint to bring together a much larger map. This should enable you to construct maps, multi-pane maps, a little more involved constructions outside of ArcMap where layouts can be a little bit difficult to get right. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to use, this is a poster that I recently created for a poster presentation. And what this is a very large slide that's been created in PowerPoint. One of the things that you'll notice is that the zoom level for this is 21%, which means that I'm zoomed way out and that the features here are quite a bit larger than they look on the screen right now. If I highlight some of this text, you can see that what I'm looking at here is text that's 28-point font. So that's quite large. If I zoom this out to 100%, this is as large as the font size is for real. So you want to be a little bit careful about. You want to sort of watch the sizes that you're working with, and I'll show you how this is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a new layout, and when I start a new PowerPoint, the default layout, depending on what you're working with, will be something like a 4:3 format or a 16:9 format if it's widescreen. So what we want to do is we want to shift this to just a blank canvas, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size to a custom size. So by default, these are sized for widescreen. The default for the recommended maximum size for a poster, for a map, is 30:24, so this is particular to the map competition that we hold in the geography department at the end of the year. Your requirements may vary depending on what you're working on, but I'm going to create a slide that's 30 inches wide by 24 inches tall. So I hit OK. This screen that pops up is telling you how large, what's going to happen to any text or images or anything that you had going on in the slide beforehand. Since I've got a blank slide, it doesn't really matter what I do here. So we'll just click either one of those and it would work out the same. So this is my this is kind of my blank canvas, and what I can start doing is creating some of the features that I might want to have. So for instance, I can do things like create a large space here. If we right click on this, we can start doing things like controlling the size of it. You can do a fairly good job manipulating these things by hand, but in order to really do a good job of getting these margins even, some things you might want to do are to type in values here instead of just guessing. So I'm going to make this so that it has, that should be 28 inches. I'm going to make this so that it has 1-inch margins all around, and I need to change the position so that the horizontal position is 1 inch over and the vertical is 1 inch over, and that's going to help me get this exactly centered. Now I don't really want this to be a blue background. What I might want to do is change the fill here to no fill, and I can change the line pattern to something like maybe a 2-point wide 2-point line solid line. So if we click out of that, what we have here is basically the neat line that we might want as part of our map. Whether or not you want one of those is up to you, but that's how you might do it. I'm going to load a page from Wikipedia. Now, ordinarily what you do is you could add some data in here, and maybe we can do that real quick instead. I'm going to add in just a topographic map, actually a National Geographic map layer. And maybe this is a sort of a finished map that you've been working on. But what you might want to do here is add this map to the layout. So you want to sort of keep in mind and have a good idea of how this map is going to fit in this context. So for instance, I know that this is 22 inches from top to bottom. It's 28 inches this way. So maybe I want to create the map so that it fills maybe just this amount. So 4 inches or so less than this, and the full width. So I can go into my layout and I can start changing these stuff around. If I right click, I can do a page and print setup. So I'm going to use some custom settings here. I want the width to be 28 inches and I want the height to be, we'll make this 18 inches, which would leave me 6 inches between the top of the map and my neat line. So we'll hit OK. That's going to reorient that page, and you'll notice that this has changed. What I can do is I can highlight this frame, which is tied to the base map here. I can look at the properties of that. And here I have a size and position as well, and what I can do is I can try to make this match what I was just doing. So this is going to be 28 inches wide and 18 inches tall, and we can hit apply. And now my frame is filling my whole canvas. And in order to make this image look right, what I can do is I can zoom in on that, and maybe I want to zoom in on a particular spot like the United States. I'll wait for the tiles to cache in here. And what I can do is position this the way I would like, something like so. And now I just need to export this to get it into my map. So I'm going to go to File, Export Map. Now, when you're preparing items for printing, 600 dpi is often a good rule if it's not too large. 300 dpi is good in many cases. So I'm gonna keep this at 300 for now. That should be fine. And we're gonna make this just testmap.png. Okay, this is going to render that tile, this is going to render that map out to a PNG file, and I can take that PNG file and I can bring it into PowerPoint as soon as it's done. So that'll just take a minute. We'll be back in a second. Okay, that data has rendered out to a PNG file, so I have that right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up my presentation, and I'm going to drag and drop that into my canvas. Okay. Now, I've designed this so that everything would fit quite neatly. You'll see that if I look closely, this is placed so exactly that it's actually running over the neat line that I made here. If that look is good, that's fine. If you find out that things aren't ordered correctly, one of the things that you can do is you can change the order at which these things are drawn. So if I click on this, I can do things like send that backward one layer, or backward all. This would send it to the very back of the queue, and this would send it backward one layer. Each element that you have here is sort of its own item, and there's a sequence of those items from top to bottom. So I'm going to send this to the back. This is going to be the lowest element here. And what that means, I can show you this as an example. If I am formatting the shape and I change this to, let's say, something extremely large, like 10 points, so you can see it a little bit better, you can see that black line is drawn on top of the map. But if I take this and I bring this to the front, you can see that now this image is actually being drawn on top of the black line. So this is what I'm talking about. You just need to be a little bit aware of the layers. So I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna send this to the back. Okay, so my black border line is going to get drawn on top again, and you can change the position of this very precisely. So if I want to move this downward, I can change this and type these things in, and in that way I can position things very nicely. If I move to look through some of these options, one of the things that you can do to help you is to add things like grid lines or rulers or guides to help you get a better idea of where things are. And these are all features that ArcMap doesn't really do particularly well. Just as an example, so we can add in certain things like north arrows this way, so we wouldn't have to necessarily rely on that. We could find other north arrows that we like, and we could copy those and put them on the map. So what this does is it just sort of enables you to more creatively control what you see here. If you wanted to do things like add a title, we can add a text box at the top, and we can say map of the United States of America. We're missing Alaska and Hawaii, but I think this is probably close enough. We can change the font size quite a bit more easily than we can in Arc, and we can change the font size as well. So we could do something like this. So this is a way in which we can sort of really very quickly position and modify our elements in a way that's possible to do in ArcMap, but maybe a little bit more difficult. Within ArcMap, you're probably going to want to do things like add a scale bar. Depending on what you're doing, you may want to add a north arrow there as well. You'll notice that we have a white background here, which doesn't look particularly good. If you're working with a symbology that you've developed in Arc, you're definitely going to want to add the legend before you add it in here. But certain other things that you might want to do, for instance, adding graphs in here, you might well want to create graphs in Excel and then add those in as well. And you should certainly play around with more intricate layouts. If we had different maps that we wanted to show, for instance, we could go back into Arc. We could add a different base layer that might be maybe the US topo map that I'll just take a second to render. This is kind of an easy way that you can keep your frames aligned without having to do a lot of the legwork of keeping sort of multiple frames centered and shown the way that you want. I'm going to uncheck this. There's our topo map, and I'm going to export my map again. We'll call this test map 2. And we'll wait for that to render. That should just take a moment, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, that layer has rendered. We're going to add it back in to our map. So here I'm just dragging and dropping, and again we can position these however we like. One of the things that Arc does very well is it provides these guides for you. So as I change the size, you can see it giving me a reminder of sort of spacing. It's telling me that this is even with that, so I can kind of size these very easily so that they are exactly the same. We can do things like make sure that we have equal spacing. So this is telling us that these are evenly spaced. As I move it over, this is telling us that these are the same distance from the side. We can use more powerful tools like arrange to make even more intricate, to be even more precise about how these get displayed. So we could do something like align middle. We can use arrow keys to move these things over. So the point of this is that you have quite a few options to make this look quite a bit better, more easily, with less effort than you can in Arc. So if we wanted to add something like subtitles, we could do that here. So we can change the orientation, so we can center that. We can align this piece so that it's centered with the map. We can copy and paste that element over here. We can align that with our map. Now, just to give you an example, maybe we want to say maps. Just to give you an example, we can also look at graph data. So here I've done a Google search for violent crime in the United States. Obviously, you would make your own, but we could do something like copy that image and paste it in here. And you'll notice that the default size of this is fairly small, so I don't know what the original resolution of this was, 556 by 303, so it's a fairly small image. This is another small image. We could probably restrict our images to something that's a little bit larger. This is a bit larger, so this is 1000 by 743. So we could copy this image and paste. So obviously, again, you'd be preparing the graph data yourself, but you could very easily sort of arrange these elements to help you tell the story that you're interested in. So this is just a quick overview of sort of what you can do in order to how to structure your poster. This is only the beginning. This is by no means a complete and finished, polished map, but hopefully it has given you sort of the basics in terms of how you can use PowerPoint to create a layout and to manipulate your map elements. Thanks.